Let the games begin. Okay, so the opening invocation that we just said a few minutes ago at the beginning of the service, and that we say at the beginning of every Sunday service, there's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotence. Now you know that that is a direct quote. That's Charles Fillmore. He said that. He wrote it down. And it is basic unity principle. And particularly principles 1 and 2. Specifically principles 1 and 2, which we are going to explore in depth today as part of our series, The 5 Principles, that is based on Ellen Debenports' book of the same title, The 5 Principles, right? And here's the thing, if you are a member of UCP, including the 3 of you who just became members, you've gone through the Pathways to Community class, you probably have a copy of this because I'd like to put it in the new member swag bags. This is like a really powerful description of what unity is about. It's basic principle, but she answers all kinds of questions that you would have. And it's really very profound. So this is our guide. If you don't have a copy for whatever reason, we have copies in the back in the office for purchase. And I highly encourage you to get one so that we can, take this deep dive together in the pool together. There's also support available with 2 study groups. We have 2. Dolores is doing a study group in her home. Thank you, Dolores. And I think it's on Wednesday afternoon. And David Glass is offering a book study before the service on Sunday. Thank you both. So more information is in your program to find out about it, but connect with them. And it's really great to just, toss these ideas around with others, and you get a deeper sense of really what this is. It really is a what? It's a wonderful thing. I would highly encourage it to get into a book study group. All right, so the 5 principles themselves, the wording that is used, varies depending upon where you look for it. There's a variety of different versions, different phraseologies. We have one for the kids. It's really simple language. Unity Centerpiece is a slightly different one than many of the other ones. It's all very slightly different wording, but it really kind of means the same thing. And interestingly, neither Charles or Myrtle Fillmore actually defined the 5 principles. They never wrote it down. I mean, it was woven throughout their teachings and everything that they wrote, but they never defined it. They never wrote it down. It wasn't until almost a century later that their granddaughter, Connie, formulated these 5 principles when she was asked to summarize Unity's teachings for an article they were writing for in Daily Word. So amazing that it kind of took that long, right? Because most of us need simple, concrete steps in order to wrap our heads around some pretty abstract concepts, right? And so that's what she did, and that's what's in this book, and it's a really helpful tool to understand these things. All right, so let's go. Principle 1 is that God is all that there is. Yeah, it's going to come up there in a minute. Because God is right there. Oh, look! Yay! God is all there is. Absolute good, everywhere present. Yeah. And the author admits that this is a very different way of looking at the divine than we're normally used to, particularly in traditional Judeo-Christian belief in a supernatural being, a father figure, in heaven somewhere, watching us, judging us. very different from that. So we're really asked to shift our thinking from being as an entity to being as the ground of being, as the transcendent intelligence, as the divine life essence, or the Tao, or the non-dual essence, or the cosmos of intelligence. These are all words that can help us expand our idea of what we used to think of as God as a being. So we are expanding our idea here and embracing this concept that this presence is omnipresent, it is infinite, it is universal, and it is eternal. Now, it may seem that things wither and die, and that things are born, but really nothing disappears, it just changes form. Like the leaves in the winter, in the autumn, they fall to the ground, they break apart, and they just become part of the soil that nourishes new growth in the spring. The same is true for a star. Stars have a lifespan, but at the end of their lifespan, they explode into a supernova. That's a word we're going to be hearing a little bit more about in the coming months, supernova. And that energy just goes on forever, just radiates out forever. So nothing really disappears, it just changes form. It just changes form. So, what is the nature of this life essence? What is the nature of, what are the qualities of this love energy? We're thinking of this as an energy, right? An energy, an intelligence, a transcendent oneness. What are the qualities of that? So, the first I would think is God is love. God is love. God, the universe is love. And when we think about love in this more expansive sense, we understand we're not talking about an emotion or a romantic thing. We're talking about love's the power as an energy. Love is a force that is life-giving and harmonizing and unopposable. There is no opposite. The next quality is the nature of the universe is abundant. It is abundant, infinite, boundless, without limits of any kind. Can you imagine where the universe ends? Or where it begins? What would be on the other side of that? Some astrophysicists are theorizing that it's actually, we live in parallel universes. There's an infinite number of parallel universes, which, if you try to think about that, brain will explode. All we know is that it's infinite, it's limitless, it is universal, boundless abundance, and it gives rise to an infinite number and variety of forms. We live in an abundant universe that, because it is love, is all providing. It's all providing. The next quality is that it is intelligent and creative. What immense intelligence is required to form galaxies and star systems and planets out of this primordial energy and keep those planets in their orbits, and all of the other complex forms of life that all work together. They all work together synchronistically. That's an immense intelligence. And when you think about the vast variety of species on this planet alone, the creativity that the imagination and the creativity, all of the different flowers and birds and species of life on this planet is just an expression of infinite creativity. Okay, the universe is beauty and magnificence. We know this. Every time we look at a sky at sunset, every time we see a rugged coastline, every time we see these beautiful trees here, every time we see a beautiful flower, or hear the song of a cardinal, we know that all of creation is the expression of life's beauty and magnificence. It's all around us from the tiniest little bug, the tiniest little ladybug, to the vast expanses of space, which we are beginning to see with the new Webb telescope. You have seen these images, right, of these incredible galaxies that just look so incredibly beautiful in their formation. Beauty and magnificence. The nature of the universe is joy. It's joy and delight. Have you ever been at the shoreline and seen dolphins playing in the waves? It's really, they're like just having fun. Or seen videos of polar bears, baby polar bears sliding down a hill of ice just for the fun of it. And they go back up and they slide again, just like little kids. Or a horse that plays with a giant ball, just for fun. Or just children, just seeing that, or hearing the purr of a cat. We just know that that is the nature of the universe, is joy. It's joy and divine delight. And we kind of, we sense this internally, I think, when we're in a state of joy, we feel like we're in alignment. We feel like we're in the flow. And when we're not, we feel sort of separate, right? We feel separated. Okay. The universe is fulfillment and success. It's the nature of the universe to come to fruition. Life must emerge from a seed idea and grow and sprout and blossom to express its full potential, to become what it is meant to become. When we see this all around us in the universe, we live in a universe that must come to fruition. All right, the universe is perfection and order. Webster defines perfect as pure, total, lacking in no essential detail, intact, complete. So we can use those same words to describe the universe that we live in. From the orchestration of the subatomic particles around a nucleus in an atom, in every atom, to the orchestration of the planets around the sun, we can see that nature is one of perfect order. And it may seem sometimes like nature is chaotic, that there's chaos. But there are theories out there, and I would agree that at the center of that chaos, there is a purpose. There is an order to it. We just have to find it. Yeah. So these are the qualities of the universe. The qualities of the universe, and they are infinite, omnipresent, unopposable. Now, you may be thinking, well, that doesn't look to be true in our world right now, or in my life. So we're going to talk for a moment in just a little bit about why that might be true. So hang on to that idea. But first, I want to complete this thought. Let's just complete this thought. So if God is all that there is, omnipresent, universal, everywhere, all the one being, one source, we must conclude that we are part of it. Principle number 2, we are God expressing. We are that divine life essence, is our essence. That ground of being is our being. We are divine beings expressing in this human physical world. And whatever's true of the universe is true of us. So all of those qualities that I just talked about of the universe, that's what you are. That is what you are right now, always have been, always will be. It is the absolute truth of you, in the absolute realm. This is the absolute truth of you. And, fortunately, this is not a foreign concept to those of us in New Thought. We know, at least intellectually, that we can't be separate from Source. We can't be separate from the One. There is only one. Paul said, the Apostle Paul said, we live, move, and have our being in God. But do we feel that in our heart? Do we know it in our core? No. Do we know it? So I think sometimes from our little human perspective, we can't always see or feel or experience the presence of God. But that doesn't mean that the divine isn't there. It means we're out of alignment with it. We've moved into separation thinking. We've moved into duality. We're asleep and dreaming. And I think it's so easy for us to think in terms of, because we're always thinking and talking in terms of duality, night and day, hot and cold, male and female, right and wrong. We're always thinking duality, that it makes it more difficult for us to open to this idea of the non-dual, of the infinite universal. And so this infinite one, we're either in alignment with it, living according to the principles, or we are out of alignment with it and asleep and dreaming. So let's go back to this idea of, okay, so it doesn't really appear that way in my world. It may not appear that way in my life right now. So why is that? Or this idea of evil. How does that fit into everything? Every time we see a terrorist attack or a school shooting, that's the face of evil. Or when we see, a devastating earthquake or wildfire like the one in Maui last year that decimated that entire town within a number of hours, we think, where is God in that? Or wars that kill thousands of innocent people, where is God there? Or when children die of starvation or leukemia. It's like, how can a God who is all good allow that to happen? Right? Isn't that what we wonder? It's in the back of our head. We don't always talk about it in New Thought, but it is in the back of our heads, right? How do we reconcile that? Well, traditional Christianity would say, well, we're being punished, us sinners, this way. Or that evil is a force, it's a power, and it's embodied in the devil. I think that's just too simplistic. It's just too simplistic. And it totally negates the whole concept that God is omnipresent and omnipotent. And so the author here, Ellen Debenport, offers some possible explanations, some possible ideas that we can begin to expand our consciousness and see if any of these might be true. And I'd like to read a few of them and just kind of get some thinking. There is no right answer here, right? I don't have the answer, but there are some possibilities that we can begin to explore and see if that feels right to us. So the first one she has here is humans were created with free will, and we make mistakes. The word sin originally meant missing the mark. Some miss it by miles. The human species is immature. This is an interesting idea. The Aramaic word, now remember, Aramaic was the language that Jesus spoke. You know, it was Aramaic. It wasn't ever written down in that, but it was that language. The word that became evil in the Bible is bisha, which means immature or unripe. Hence the biblical reference to evil fruit. It wasn't ripe. We as humans are immature or unripe, not yet living up to divine consciousness. We can't see the big picture. Events have meaning we do not understand, although later we might see the gifts that were brought to us through the most difficult times in our lives. How many of you have had that experience? The most difficult time, the most challenging experience, and something came out of that just changed your life. Yeah. We are creating our world through consciousness, which is principle 3. We're going to go over principle 3 next week, which most people do not realize, much less know how to handle. Our every thought, feeling, and word sets up a response from the universe, but we have only a glimmer of understanding how to create our experience deliberately. Then she says, what we call evil is an expression of mass consciousness. We all contribute to it through our angry and violent thoughts, the energetic vibrations we pour into the one mind. The energy inevitably expresses somewhere, just as an erupting volcano releases heat from the earth. That's an interesting idea. And this last one, I'm not so sure about, but some people resonate to this, so I'm going to read it. We are balancing the events of a past life, sometimes called karma. This is not so much punishment or reward as reconciling accounts and offering an opportunity to experience life from all sides. So this is really juicy material for a conversation, right, in a book study group. So I really want you to bring these ideas and you know, bat them around, really think about them. More importantly, really check into your own heart, into your own wisdom. What is true for you? What does your inner wisdom say is true for you about this? That's the most important thing. And again, there are no definite answers. There could be several different things. She also mentions further on in the book this idea of soul contracts, which I think is interesting. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. But definite possibilities you want to explore. So next week, when we come back, we're going to go over principle 3 and learn how we, as creators, as conscious creators, don't always know that, so we create by default, but we want to learn how to create consciously. This is the idea of learning to create consciously. All right? Everybody swimming in the same Olympic-sized pool as me and Katie Ledecky? All right, let's go. Namaste. Hi. If this video has inspired you, opened your heart, expanded your consciousness, filled you with hope, empowered you in some way, we encourage you to support what we offer here at Unity Center of Peace by making your donation now. And thank you.